Hey everybody, it's Steve here. Welcome back. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming back, repeaters, and if you're new here, welcome. Today I want to talk to you about an art show that I judged. I want to talk about the winners, and I want to tell you a little bit about why I picked them and what I look for whenever I'm judging an art show. The show was for the Oil Painters of America. If you're not familiar with them, they're a terrific organization for us oil painters, and they do these online showcase competitions 3 times a year. If you want to learn more about them, I'll put a link in the description. In this showcase, there were over 1,100 entries in the show, and it was open to associate and signature members. Out of those 1,130 or so, I needed to knock it down to a first, second, and third place in each category, and some honorable mentions. That means that you have a 0.5% or 0.5% chance of being in the money. So, needless to say, you really have to make yourself stand out. But the big question is, how do you do this? Well, let me tell you what my criteria is, what I look for as a judge. And this being a representational art show, there are a few things on my list. The first being drawing, of course, because this is a representational art show. You need to show mastery over your values. Your composition needs to be very good. The colors need to be harmonious or interesting choices. And your technique, your paint application, your manipulation, and your edges. And you need to show some good originality that'll help you to stand out. And for me, one more thing is, does it make you feel something when you look at it? Or does it tell a story? So let's take a look at the winners, why I thought they kicked butt and deserve to win, and some of the reasons why. Let's start with the associate members' honorable mentions. And just so you know, the honorable mentions, they're not in any particular order. First off, we have Kim Vanderhoek. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. The painting is called Key Bridge Arches. You know, I've painted bridges in plein air before, and they are very difficult to keep them from looking like an architect's rendering. And so she does a wonderful job with keeping things loose and at the same time doing a very good job at drawing. I love how the trees in the background have very soft edges, and it really sets them back. This painting was very dynamically painted, and it walks a fine line between loose and tight. Very hard to do. Next, we have a piece called Acceleration by Patricia Rice. I absolutely love how this bird is skimming the water, and in another half a second, he's going to be gone. The waves are painted beautifully, the reflection on the water, the warmth of the sunlight. It's very believable. And this is just a wonderful piece. For me, the thing that kept this one ending up a little bit higher was the composition. I would have liked to have seen it a little bit lower or a little bit higher in the picture, and I think that would have really helped this. But still, wonderful, wonderful piece. The next piece is called Manhattan Mosaic by Alan Wiley. And there's so much about this painting I love. The light that's infused in here, the drawing is spot on. It's busy, but it's not overwhelmingly busy. It's just, it's a wonderful example of how you can get the illusion of light on a 2D surface. The only thing that kept this one from entering a little bit higher was the crappy capture. I mean, it's all blurry. So there's a little tip for you. Always put in an awesome photo. I don't know her, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Allie spends a fair amount of time going out and painting on location. This painting, although it's 20 by 20, it probably wasn't painted on location, but she's got that information in her head as to how light works and how to simplify that information. And even though the composition of this is kind of in the center, everything is dynamic enough about it that you don't seem to notice it or care. In the next painting by Mark Anderson called The Woodpile, it's probably because I come from the illustration side of things that this painting really caught my eye. It really has more of an illustration feeling than a fine art painting, but here we have a complicated scene of snow on a woodpile that's been simplified and painted to read well. Not only is this a strong composition where the woodpile leads your eye into the scene and back along the top of the receding snow on the pile, but think about this for a moment. This is a scene of snow on top of logs with tree shadows on top of the woodpile snow, and that is not an easy feat. Good on you, Mark. This piece by Melinda Morrison called Cherub Rocker is the perfect way for me to launch into one of my teaching moments, and that is that I can't be judging these paintings against each other because some paintings are painted looser than others, and if I did that, everything that was my favorite style would win. But what I do is I judge the painting for what the artist was trying to accomplish and how successful they were at that, not how much time they put into a piece. For this painting, I don't know how much time Melinda put into this, but I do know that every stroke in this painting is important, and that if you take any of them out, it diminishes what's there. In this painting, it's not so much about the composition, it's about the mood and the energy and just the life that she's infused into it, and it's wonderful. And in so many ways, painting in this kind of a style is so much more difficult than painting what's photorealistic and right in front of you, because there's interpretation and simplification that has to be done on this. So just because something's looser doesn't mean it's easier. Evensong by Blair Atherholt. There's so much about this painting that I love. I love that it's a low-key painting. I love the way he has simplified parts of this painting in the background and the ribbon, and that they're not nearly as much detail as, let's say, the jug or the grapes. And I love the rhythm of this painting. I love how everything moves you around in a big circle, and you don't miss any part of it. The subdued colors and complementary color scheme on this painting make it awesome. Now, since Jim Woodard and I are both in the Western art genre, I do know Jim, but as my other friends will tell you, that doesn't make any difference whenever I'm judging a show. It has to stand on its own, and this one definitely does. The composition, of course, it speaks for itself. It's wonderful. But the thing that really stands out on this is his absolute mastery of color planes. As the ground plane comes towards you, the part that's in the shadow there with the rider, that definitely warms up, brings it closer to you. The values are darker, and that pop of color of the campfire glowing on the arch, it brings it all together. And it tells a great story of homecoming. But do me a favor, don't tell Jim I said that. Steve Stauffer's painting of Dead Horse Point Juniper is just gorgeous. It's not a huge piece, and I can tell you, I'm pretty sure Steve spends a fair amount of time out painting on location as well. Just the sense of light, of backlighting here, where all of the values are compressed, nothing is black, and it just reads exactly as it should. Things are simplified, color temperatures are spot on. A couple little grasses scratched out in the front, and just hinting at the large shapes going on back in that canyon. And everything's perfectly placed for this great composition. It's a beautiful piece. I wish I'd painted it. In Brian McClear's painting, Forgiven, there's so much about this that caught my eye. I love the rough, unfinished quality of the background. I love the direct and honest look of his face. The broken colors that are painted on his face are ones that are picked up from the colors on his tattoos. If the colors weren't already in those tattoos, having those colors on his face wouldn't work. But they're unusual enough that they do because they appear in other places in the painting. And finally, I love the title Forgiven, which is the tattoo on his right wrist. And with one word, it tells a story. To me, titles are an extension of the work and can further the message, or, like it does here, crystallize it. The painting Entering Yellowstone is an example of a realistic landscape that's all about the design of the shapes. If this isn't the first video of mine that you're watching, you've probably heard me say that good composition is an unequal distribution of size and shape arranged in a pleasing manner. And this painting is the very definition of that for me. Shameless plug time. Listen, if you like what you're seeing, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. When you do, Pig gets his wings. And don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. Now we get into the big winners for the Associate Division, starting with third place. Jason Saccharin's painting is a wonderful study in the idea that less is more, and it's done to perfection. There's very little detail here, proving the point that if it's done well, a painting is stronger with less detail than more. I really get the sense that this is a dusty old hay barn with beautifully placed areas of light streaming in through the roof and walls. The fact that the wood on the far wall has areas that you can tell that the wood is thin and you can see the light through it, it made me smile when I viewed it for the first time. And you know what? It still does. This is an artist that has a mastery over all aspects of this painting. Second place went to Robert Goldman's Onto Coal Mine Canyon. Great composition and simplification of a very complicated subject. But the atmospheric perspective on this painting rocks. Sorry, couldn't resist. As things go back, you can see masterly control over the values and color temps. The dark values get lighter, the light values darken slightly, and every shape is simplified and the edges soften. The light and dark patterns that he paints hold together in a beautiful pattern that fits together like a big puzzle. In the middle ground rock formation, he has some wonderful greens in the shadows of the rock wall, while in the closer foreground rock walls, he has really pushed the colors in the reflected light. So you can tell there's more of these rocks just out of your line of sight, blasting their color into the shadows. Beautiful. Finally, here's first place in the Associate Division. I think this piece by John Buxton pretty much speaks for itself. So I'm just going to sit back, be quiet, and let you enjoy the poetry that is his painting. Listen, don't believe a word he's saying to you. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He never has. Uncle Albert, what are you doing? Get away from that camera. Run! Albert, turn that camera off. Oh, doggone it, Albert. The technical difficulty screen too? I am really sorry about that, everybody. Let's just put that behind us and move on. Let's go to the signature member winners, and let me explain a little bit about what makes them signature members. Basically, you can be an associate member in the Oil Painters of America as long as you work in the oil medium and you pay your dues. And as you can tell by what we just saw, there are some amazing painters in the Associates Division. To be a signature member of Oil Painters of America, you have to have been in a certain number of national or regional shows. And once you've done that, Then you submit your portfolio to a review committee, and they will say either yes or no, you can have your signature status. And you'll probably notice that signature members are able to put the letters OPA after their signature on their canvas. Not everybody does it, but you can if you want to. Here are the honorable mentions for the signature division. And again, these are in no particular order. Here's Michelle Uzabelli's painting Mellow Morning, a beautifully colorful painting that's colorful but not garishly so. This is definitely a colorist painting. Great composition so that if you squint down, then you can see the patterns of light and dark. This is a scene that can easily get overly complicated in a hurry, but because of how she simplified the shapes and the way she applied the paint, such as letting much of the detail fall away along the left-hand side, the finished painting is a delight. It's the kind of work that looks almost abstract from close up, but when you step back, it all snaps right into place. A Sonnet in Blue is by Charles Emerson Winchester III. Oh, no, wait, that's not right. Here it is. Charles Young Walls. Charles actually had 3 paintings in the running, but I whittled it down to this one. Mysterious and beautifully painted. I'd love to know what the story is behind this painting. Was it a commercial work for a book cover? Maybe a commission from a collector? Or did he just pull it out of his fertile imagination? If I ever meet Charles, I'll be sure to ask him. But one thing I do know, it's a beautiful painting. Painter Linda Bessie has done a wonderful job of capturing a moment. In another moment, this guy's going to be gone. And the fact that she's able to make this polar bear or ice bear stand out in a field of what essentially is white, luckily it's not a snowstorm. She makes everything secondary to the bear that's on the ice floe there. And she does a great job of mixing in warms and cools to make everything work together. This definitely deserved the merit of being called out as an honorable mention. So we're on to our last 3. The first, second, and third place in the signature division. Greg LaRock is another artist that had 2 paintings on the short list for awards. I thought this one was just a touch more successful. Loosely painted but not sloppy. Too often, I think many painters use looseness as an excuse for poor draftsmanship. This painting ticks all the boxes for a great painting. It has good drawing, excellent composition, his values are spot on, harmonious colors, meaning that not only do the colors work together that he chose, but they have a harmonious intensity to them too. As I said, his technique of paint application is terrific, loose but never sloppy, and good manipulation of his edges. And I love the story or subject of this painting. Patrick Saunders' painting War Dancer took second place. Now, Western art is my chosen genre of painting, and I think there are some who enter an art competition thinking they have an advantage entering an art competition if they paint the same subject matter as the judge, when I find that just the opposite is true. Since I see Western, cowboy, Indian paintings every day, it takes a very special painting to catch my eye. This painting did that right away. Even in the first round, I shortlisted this one for an award. All the award paintings have all the things I look for in an outstanding painting. This is painted with a simple honesty that's just so pleasing to my eye. There's a lot going on with his costume and regalia, but he's simplified the shapes and details into a cohesive whole. The whites aren't pure white. In fact, if you hold a piece of white paper up to this, it's surprising just how much color is there. But what really made this stand out are the choices he made for the background. The first being the sky filled with clouds and no land mass visible, no trees, nothing like that. The second is being the point of view of you, the viewer. The fact that his viewpoint is low on the Indian and looking up gives his subject a larger-than-life, imposing impression. That, along with the name War Dancer, tells an interesting story, at least to me. And I think if you've ever been to a powwow, it would to you as well. Quite simply, this painting won a big prize because it made me feel more than any other painting in this competition. First place in the signature division is called Winter Creek by Dave Santianis. I think Dave hit a grand slam home run with this painting. I know you're thinking, but Steve, what does a schlub who lives in Arizona know about a scene like this and whether it's spot on or not? Well, it's because of weather like this that I now live in Arizona. Before I moved here to Prescott, I lived in Minnesota for 20 freaking years, and I had enough of this weather. In fact, I started painting plein air in Minnesota and have a rule that I won't go outside and paint if it's 18 degrees or below, because the oil paints just get too stiff to control at that temp. But I love the mood and atmosphere that this painting captures. Everything about this scene rings true to me. This reminds me of all those days we'd go out walking or cross-country skiing. The subtle play between the blue and pink of the snow, the dark undercut of the creek bank where the snow isn't, the frozen creek of blue-green ice and snow that's drifted over it in places, the little pokey brush that's sparsely showing through the wisps, and most of all, the line of buildings in the background that's barely visible in the distance. How they merge into the bare tree line. This is a painting that anyone who paints landscapes will tell you is magnificent in its subtlety and restraint. I would buy this painting if I had any money, which I don't. I don't know. Maybe this is a piece that only someone who's gone out and painted in that weather can appreciate. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments which of these paintings was your favorite and why. There are only opinions, there aren't any wrong answers, so go for it. I hope you found this little video helpful and that it gives you lots to think about for your work. Heck, even if you don't enter competitions, having more information can only make you a better artist. On a personal note, I was so impressed by Dave Santianis' painting that I went to his website and looked at his upcoming workshops. And I signed up for his August workshop in 2020 in St. George, Utah. He must be good if I'm willing to go stand outside for 3 days and paint on location in southern Utah in August. I'm crazy. I don't know. I'll try to do a video of my experience and bring you all along. Anywho, I do thank you for showing up. Like I said, if you like what you've heard, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and all that stuff. And, as always, I'll see you down the road.